Hi, my name is Jessi Walsh. I'm here today to present my action research study, How Does Movement Impact Student Performance? In addition to acquiring a bachelor's degree in K-12 Health and Physical Education with a minor in coaching, I have a bachelor's degree in Elementary Education K-8. I obtained my degrees through Wayne State College in Wayne, Nebraska. This is also where I'm pursuing a Master of Science in Education. I'm at this time finishing my third year teaching in my current position. I'm enjoying teaching physical education to elementary grades pre-K through 6 and secondary grades 7 through 12, and keyboarding to elementary grades 5 through 6. In addition to teaching, I am also an assistant high school track coach. Previously, I taught 5th grade at another school district for 3 years. There, I also was an assistant high school track coach. The purpose of this study was to look into current educational practices in which administrators are left with deciding which times of the day get shortened or eliminated for more instructional time. In most cases, school leaders across the United States are continuing to decrease the time students are allowed to play at recess, as well as limiting the time students receive physical education. With these changes in the classroom, it seems students are less focused and that there is an increase in class interruptions. Some interruptions are unavoidable, but I wanted to know if there was a way for fewer inappropriate interruptions and if that would result in positive academic success for all students. In my literature review, I started looking into what the research says about the impact movement in the classroom has on student performance. More specifically, I looked into academic performance in the classroom, behavior performance in the classroom, and enhancing positive attitudes in the classroom. Here's what I found in the research about how movement in the classroom impacts academic performance. The connections between movement and the brain. The research mentions the part of the brain that processes movement is the same part of the brain that's processing learning. Exercise fuels and strengthens the muscles, yes, but also the brain. If students do not have the opportunity to move, their thoughts are also unable to move. It promotes communication between the hemispheres of the brain. Movement helps keep the brain active and building connections. Movement can promote communication between the hemispheres of the brain. Because the right hemisphere of the brain controls the left side of the body, and vice versa, exercises that cross the midline of the body forces the two hemispheres to cooperate. Since reading and writing are required academic activities that encourage crosstalk between the hemispheres of the brain, it is essential to build connections between the hemispheres for learning. In addition to building connections in the brain, physical activity promotes retention and recall. Implicit learning is the brain's preferred style of learning to acquire information. Implicit learning generally involves more neural pathways and sensory cues. This allows for information to be learned quickly and remembered more accurately. The chance for academic success also increases. This is what the literature review says about behavioral performance in the classroom. Physical movement does not just positively influence students' academic performance in the class, it can increase student behavior. Purposeful movement in the classroom helps promote a positive learning atmosphere in which students are alert, engaged, focused, and excited to learn. Related to this positive learning atmosphere, adding movement to daily lessons can facilitate positive classroom management. A decrease in discipline problems. Students who are interested in and excited about what they are doing in class are less likely to engage in discipline problems. Teachers who acknowledge the need for movement and arrange their classrooms accordingly will allow students to be more productive. A benefit to students diagnosed with ADHD. All students can benefit from having exercises and activities incorporated into their daily schedules, especially students diagnosed with ADHD. Engaging students with ADHD in planned, frequent movement activities, providing accommodations when needed, increases the likelihood that students will experience success. Physical movement enhances positive attitude and aids in relieving students' stress. Students experience daily stressors. These stressors can place a severely unhealthy amount of stress on the student. Adding movement to their daily lessons allows teachers to redirect students' attention helping diminish the stress many students feel on a daily basis. Increased class enjoyment. The research mentions that students value how you make them feel more than what you teach them. It is important for educators and administrators to provide a positive learning environment for all students to succeed. A positive association towards learning in school. By decreasing stress and increasing class enjoyment, movement activities can then promote positive attitudes. Body movement triggers the release of dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, and endorphins, which cause students to feel happy and excited. In turn, movement activities are likely to help provide students with a positive association towards learning in school. In conclusion, this literature review shows a positive connection between movement and learning. There is a significant amount of research that supports the ever so important relationship between purposeful movement in everyday classroom lessons and the academic achievement, classroom behavior, and attitude of students. Moderate amounts of exercise 3 times a week, 20 minutes a day, can have very beneficial effects. The school's demographics. This study took place in a public school setting in the Midwest. The elementary school has approximately 133 students enrolled from 3rd grade to 6th grade. The ethnicity of the population is 89% Caucasian, 4% Hispanic, 4% African American, 2% multiracial, and 1% American Indian. The school is about 29% free and reduced lunch. The majority of the students are in families with low to middle socioeconomic status. The participants of this study included 2 separate sections of 5th graders. Class A has 18 students as well as Class B, from ages 10 to 11 years old. In Class A, there are 9 girls and 9 boys. 8 girls identify as white and 1 girl is Hispanic. 8 boys identify as white and 1 boy is Hispanic. In Class B, there are 9 girls and 9 boys. 8 girls identify as white and 1 girl as African American. The 9 boys identify as white. The students selected for this study were assigned to my keyboarding classes. Each participant was granted consent by a parent or guardian through a signed consent form. The data collection. The Action Research Study started in September of 2019 and continued through November 2019. The study lasted 8 weeks. To examine the impact movement has on student performance, both qualitative and quantitative data were gathered and examined. All data collected during the Action Research Study was evaluated by comparing the students' participants' academics, behavior, and attitude before and after administering movement in the classroom. This included the data from a professional interview, field notes, daily student responses, student surveys, behavioral checklists, and student products and performances. I used the information gathered to decide if movement opportunities enhanced student learning, whether it affected student off-task behaviors, and if there was an effect on student attitude. The data collection for qualitative research. Field notes were kept in a daily journal. They were supplementary observations related to the student participants' achievement, behavior, and attitude. The movement interview was given to the physical education teacher at the beginning of the study to gather his professional thoughts on movement in the classroom. Daily student responses were completed by student participants at the beginning of each keyboarding class and at the end of each keyboarding class, after being presented with opportunities to move within the classroom. The purpose of the daily student responses were to check on how students were feeling before class started and how they were feeling after they exercised in class. In the student survey, students were asked to rate the certain items on a scale, using the following categories: strongly agree, somewhat, and strongly disagree. The survey gave me an insight on how they felt about movement in the classroom. Data collection for quantitative research. A behavioral checklist was used to tally students' specific off-task behaviors and the frequency in which they occurred during a scheduled keyboarding class. The classroom teacher tallied off-task behaviors while I was teaching. Student products and performances were monitored over the course of the Action Research Study. Completed keyboarding lessons were used for grading purposes. Because there are several variables that influence student grades, the data was used with caution. There are some limitations with the data collection. I was the keyboarding teacher for the 2 sections of 5th grade classes, so some biases may have been present at the time of the study. Other variables that may set limitations on the study are as follows. The type of movement in the classroom changed, and students may have enjoyed one over the other. The students were in school for a few months, and they have been getting used to the classroom routines and the expectations. The students in the keyboarding class do have access to alternative seating options. In addition, although the study was done continuously for 8 weeks, a longer data collection period may have provided more data for this study. The types of movement in the classrooms during this study were Brain Gym videos and Go Noodle videos. In the Go Noodle videos, sensory and motor skills were able to be chosen, and also which movement type. The findings for student academics improved. In the movement interview completed by the physical education teacher, it states that a sedentary lifestyle is not conducive to being your best. Activity stimulates your mind, body, and spirit. Thus, I think that being active can help with academic performance. Data from the first 2 weeks show that the 5th grade students in Class A accumulated a 31.6% of incomplete or late assignments. At the end of the research, Class A's incomplete or late assignments dropped to 14%. Class B accumulated a 22.1% of incomplete or late assignments in the first 2 weeks. At the end of the research, Class B's incomplete or late assignments dropped to 15.8%. The following are statements from a couple students' daily responses after completing the movement activity in the classroom. I get excited when I move, and I do better when I'm excited. I can do all my work when I'm less tired. The data was recorded during the scheduled keyboarding classes based on the recorded observations during the first 4 weeks, it's 10 class periods, of the action research study. The frequency for Class A off-task behaviors per student during each scheduled keyboarding class was 4.34 times. At the end of the research, the frequency for Class A off-task behaviors per student during each scheduled keyboarding class decreased to 2.4 times. The frequency for Class B off-task behaviors per student during each scheduled keyboarding class was 1.76 times. At the end of the research, the frequency for Class A off-task behaviors per student during each scheduled keyboarding class decreased to just 0.75 times. I noticed there was a marginal decrease in the students' off-task behaviors after students were provided with opportunities to move in the classroom. The following is a statement from a student daily response after completing a movement activity in the classroom. I felt tired and bored first. After we danced, I didn't stop doing my work as much. Findings for student attitude improved. Students were asked to complete a student movement survey A. The following data chart suggests that students not only enjoyed brain break activities, but also felt as if their attitude became more positive after the brain breaks in both Class A and Class B. So here's Class A results and Class B results. My field notes contain mostly positive observations focused on students' attitude as it relates to movement in the classroom. I made note that a group of 4 students showed me that they have been practicing past brain breaks. Students' facial expressions were also observed during the movement activities, and they validate the results shown in the above graphs for Class A and Class B. Conclusion: movement in the classroom has a positive impact on students' academic performance. Play and movement gave the students a chance to release stress, refocus, and provide a positive learning environment. Yes, it is important for children to learn how to work while sitting still, but we also need to realize when their bodies just need a break. Movement in the classroom results in fewer inappropriate behaviors. Movement in the classroom provides a positive learning environment for all. Inviting children to move around more in the classroom can feel like an inviting pandemonium also. But, as with all new strategies, the key is to set ground rules so children know what to expect. Before inviting them to move about, explain the purpose of an exercise that requires physical activity. Plan lessons and activities, even non-educational ones like jumping jacks, beforehand with clear objectives, time limits, and a backup plan in case the activity doesn't go as expected. Educators need to take the time to teach students the appropriate ways to move their bodies for each exercise. In closing, I believe increased movement in the classroom that is purposely merged into lessons should be applied throughout all grade levels. Thanks for listening.